This conference will now be recorded.
Process. And then I'll turn the screen on.
Should I turn this off because it's so loud?
Well, I just moved it away from me. I think that
It would be so hot.
It was so warm.
That's
in
true, it
here.
is so hot today.
humid.
طب والباب ما نروح عادي يعني؟ شو المفروض نروح؟
I think it'll be okay.
Okay. As long as the
Okay,
sound's okay.
so good evening. My name is Koyomi, and tonight's Village Specialist Workshop is called Tips, Tricks, and Proactive Planning for Villager Session Summaries or Villager Progress Reports and Credit Program Reports. There we go. So that's me. I'm the second half Village Specialist. I've been at CLB 17 years. I've been Dean and Credit Facilitator and Credit Teacher at Morinike. I've done art work in the villages. I teach English and ESL for a living. I also taught Japanese. I work in a middle school, and I have a master's in second language studies and specialized in assessment. My objectives for tonight are to make sure that everyone can articulate what families want to see in the reports that we send home, whether those are for credit villagers or 1 and 2 week villagers, to describe language growth with can-do statements, to describe social development or social interactions with specific examples, and to give feedback that includes detail and impact. And most of what I've written here is also written here, so don't feel like you have to write everything down. The link to this is also in the handout, so you have everything. Okay, so I want you to think, as a parent or guardian, or for credit villagers, as a school teacher or a school principal, department head, what would you want to know about a villager's experience? So just think about that for a moment. Remembering that in the credit program, the reports that you write go in 2 copies, 1 copy to the family and 1 copy to the villager's school if they have specified their school's address. And all the credit documentation you create, the course frameworks, as well as the reports on each individual student, will go to the school. The student report only goes to that student's school, not every student, but all of the information about what you taught goes to the school along with your report about that student. So maybe you'd like to share what are some things that families or schools might want to know.
I know as a parent, I am worried about their social emotional being. Like, are they okay emotionally?
Yeah.
Are they getting along? Are they scared? Are they happy?
Yeah,
Mostly, are they happy?
yeah.
Learning, of course, is important, and that's why they're here. But nobody learns if they're not ready to learn and if they're not social emotionally stable. So,
And when parents call, usually the thing they're asking about is my child okay? Is my child happy? Have they made friends? Are they engaging in activities? What else came up when you were thinking?
I think as a credit teacher, I need to be more specific about this kid, so I don't give like general assessment, because that will sound like I'm giving like a copy paste report to every parent. So the more specific you are, the more the parents can think that you are truthful and honest enough to tell them how the villager is.
Yeah, it's okay to use some of the same kinds of statements, but especially if you're writing about siblings or if you're writing about kids who go to the same school, you want to make sure that those reports don't say the exact same thing. You know, clearly they did a lot of the same things if they were in the class together, so it's okay for it to be somewhat the same, but yeah, it needs to be individual as much as we can. Anything else?
As a parent, I would like
Yeah.
to see things like that they have done them, so like hands-on activities, projects, homework, what we call a portfolio.
Right, and all the credit programs, including Arabic and all the other languages, do the portfolio, and that portfolio goes home with the villager, so that should be very easy for parents to just look at because they brought it home. Schools are allowed to ask to see it, so that's why most of the villages have a system for making sure that there's some description in English of the various portfolio materials, since not all schools offer all languages, and they might not have an Arabic teacher who can understand what they're looking at, but they might have a Spanish teacher who can look at a list of skills and say, oh, that's similar to what we would teach in a Spanish 1 class, that makes sense. Or to just look more generally at, that looks like a year's worth of work, I understand that they did all these different things. Anything else? So yeah, I pulled together some different thoughts. These are not research-based, these are more anecdotal. Families want to know whether their villager tried to use the target language, in your case Arabic. You know, what they were able to do in the target language, Arabic. What other things did they learn to do? Did they take sports or cooking or canoeing or something else? Did they make friends? Did they have a good time? And a lot of parents want to know what the villager did for the community. Were they a pleasant person to be around? And school admins may want to know what was covered in the credit classes, right? And that's largely covered by the course frameworks that we do. And then on the individual reports, they want to know how this villager can perform in their comprehension, in their conversation, in their speaking and writing with an audience. And then, you know, where's the match between, yes, I taught all of these things, how many of those things can this villager do, and can they do them well, can they do them with support? So when we talk about language growth and use, my strong suggestion is to talk about tasks that they can do or language functions that they have control over. Tasks and language functions are not super different. Tasks are basically more specific. Language functions are basically more general. So one way to think about it is if somebody says, what did you do today? You're probably going to say something like, I went to the bank, I went to the grocery store, I talked to my mom on the phone. You're not going to say, I asked questions, I asked for directions, and I described the person, which are more like language functions. You're probably going to describe something more like tasks. So here are some examples. Cleone was able to ask the food she wanted during meals. For her final project, Noemi wrote a detailed story about immigrating to Belgium. That would be a fictional story if it were my case. And Clara struggled to add to the conversation during meals, but would respond to direct questions from the staff. So those are people at sort of different levels of language skill. It's also useful to talk about who the villager used the language with. You know, just staff, okay, with peers, even better. And did they encourage other people to use the language, or did they continue to use English when other people were using English? There's this sort of acronym called CAP, which is a concept from language assessment more generally. It's not a CLV idea, it's a broader idea. We can look at people's language skills in terms of complexity, things like sentence length, more advanced or less advanced vocabulary, whether they're using more complicated structures, longer sentences, or that's going to vary a lot by language, what complexity means. Right? In Japanese, complexity is going to mean longer sentences. It's also going to mean using more written kanji in the written language. It's also going to mean using honorifics, using a broader variety of synonyms, words like stated instead of said would be complexity. Accuracy is, are they following the grammatical rules? Are they spelling things correctly? Are they making themselves understandable or not understandable? And then fluency isn't what a lot of people think it is. In popular culture, people say, oh, you can speak Spanish, are you fluent? And what they really want to know is, are you very proficient in Spanish? But when language assessment professionals talk about fluency, what they're talking about is fluidity. Are you able to write a whole page without stopping and thinking a whole lot? Are you able to talk without having to look up a lot of words? You can have really good fluency and really poor accuracy. That's how I speak Spanish, with fairly good fluency and extremely poor accuracy. But it's still a skill. Being able